I am Annette Lawler, and I'm the Health and Human Sciences educator here in Harrison County. And this is my home office, and now my co-workers will introduce themselves.
I'm Gail Peitzmeyer, Purdue Extension, Crawford County.
Hi, and I'm Sonia Mitchell, Purdue Extension in Washington County.
Dark chocolate has great medicinal effect because it's actually the cacao, and it doesn't have the extra added milk and sugar. And what it does is improves blood flow. It opens our blood vessels. It's a vascular dilator, if I could say it right. It's packed with antioxidants, minerals like iron and magnesium and copper, manganese, and potassium. So a lot of women in this country are kind of low on both calcium and magnesium, and sometimes then that's why they will crave chocolate. Their body just knows they're needing those chemicals and found that when they feel that way, they eat chocolate, they feel better. And then of course we get to Valentine's Day and people use chocolate for love. Well, as anybody knows, that's a typical Valentine's Day type of thing. Also, some of the health benefits, it reduces the free radicals produced by oxygen. So it's an antioxidant, but it has to be the dark chocolate. It also helps reduce platelet aggravation, so it helps with our blood flow and prevents blood clotting. Reduces our blood pressure, and it can lower the LDL, which is our bad cholesterol. So you stop thinking, hey, chocolate's medicine. Well, food is medicine, and so we find that chocolate can have some medicinal value. It also can help with our cognitive function, again, because of that increase in brain function and blood flow to the brain.
You mean I could eat chocolate and get smarter?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
At least for a few minutes. And so, what happens is you have a tree that produces a fruit. Chocolate's from a fruit, so it's a vegetable-fruit combination, right? So it's one of those healthy things. All right, so there's this big pod that comes off the tree. It's clipped off the tree by hand. Big banana leaves are put out on the ground, and all of these cacao pods are broken open, and there's this white milky liquid inside that has a little black nib inside, which is the cocoa bean. And all that's dumped out in a big pile, covered with banana leaves, and left to ferment for days. And that fermentation process chemically alters and changes, like corn becomes alcohol, or, corn liquor. Cocoa ferments and changes its chemical structure.
Now wait a minute, you said cacao and cocoa. Is this one and the same thing? Is cocoa the same as cacao?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cacao is cocoa and cocoa is cacao. Yes. However, this is a long way from that pod. A lot of stuff has to happen before we get to that pod form. Okay, so what happens is these chocolate pods are broken open and the pulp is fermented, and then they take that and they lay all those beans out on like big screens and let the sun and the air hit it until they dry to a certain amount of dryness. And of course the producers know how dry that needs to be. And then they take and bag it up and send it wherever in the world it's supposed to be, for whatever purpose that they have for that, whatever company. And then they will take that and they will husk or break off the hulls of those seeds. Then they take those little seeds, the cacao pod, the little pulps, and they will break them up by kind of grinding them, and that's what cocoa nibs are. And you see little cocoa nibs, that's the broken up
Yeah,
pieces.
like when you get trail mix and there's little chocolate bits in there, and that's what they refer
Little
to as
broken
the
pieces.
nibs.
The
Yeah,
nibs,
little broken
nibs.
nibs.
Yeah. And there's no sugar or fat added to those, it's just what's in the natural bean. And the actual cocoa bean does have something called a butter fat, or what's used for the white chocolate, which is the cocoa butter. And white chocolate, coating, cocoa butter lotions, whatever cocoa butter is in, that comes from the cocoa bean.
But is this considered chocolate?
No.
Not chocolate at all?
Nor is this.
Oh.
Because once everything else is stripped out, what's left is the cocoa butter. They will add, this they'll add a vegetable oil to, so you could like dip pretzels in it, it's a coating. This you can use as these are the white chocolate, but basically they're the natural part. They've got the cocoa butter and the flavor, and they don't have a lot of that vegetable oil, so they're still a more natural product, and that's what you use to cook with. This is just a coating kind of thing. But white chocolate isn't true chocolate because it's the refinement of the cocoa butter. Okay, so now they have taken those pods and they have broken them. They have to roast them too. So that they've had that roasting process to bring out the flavor and make sure it's the right texture, temperature, and the right moisture content. Crack them up And after they're broken up in little pieces, then they will take those nibs and they run them through a machine, a grinder. And they grind those little cocoa nibs up so small that they're the diameter of 1/6 of a human hair. So that when those cocoa nibs are ground up enough to use in a candy making process, they're very, very tiny particles. They look liquid. And then that liquid goes into a machine called a concher. It's to be conched, which is a strange sounding word. But this is something that Rudolph Lindt came up with in the 1800s. And it was a conch because it was shaped like a conch shell. And when he took that and just turned and turned and turned and turned the chocolate, where he had added back some of the fat, which was the cocoa butter, and the flavorings that he wanted in there, when he was adding all that up, he wanted to make a really nice chocolate. When he just kept spinning it and spinning it in that machine, it just got smoother and smoother and smoother. And then when it dries, it's really tempered chocolate to where it's kind of hard and crackles. And you want that hard chocolate on most products. So we will start off with, okay, this has had all that stuff removed. There's no added sugar, there's no added anything. This is just the ground up powder of the cacao. Be careful when you get cocoa powder because there's different kinds. This is just direct 100% cocoa powder. It has some antioxidant benefit because it's 100% cacao. You can get, now Hershey's makes a special dark, and a lot of people love the flavor. And they say, oh, that's dark chocolate. It is not, because they use Dutch cocoa. So when you read the labels of your cocoa containers, it needs to say 100% cocoa. If it says Dutch cocoa, or on the front it says Dutched, that means what they did, they did this in Europe to make it less bitter. And what they did is they cut down that acid or bitterness of it and made it more alkaline. But when they did that, that robs the antioxidants from the chocolate. So the Dutch chocolate has lost its antioxidant benefit for your heart.
And that's through the processing.
The processing to make
some of the
it,
benefits.
right.
Okay.
Now, if you want something that's less bitter, that's fine. If you like Hershey's Special Dark, that's what you like, go ahead and eat it, but it's not going to give you the health benefit of the antioxidant that the natural chocolates will. So it's just something they say it's dark chocolate, and it may be darker than milk chocolate, but it's lost its antioxidant effect.
So what you have here, these bars, are very different from, say, if I go buy a Hershey bar.
Yes.
Not the same health benefits.
No.
So I really need to watch the label and look at the amount of cacao that's in there.
Really important to read your labels on your chocolate. It's important to read your labels on all the foods that you eat, but it's really important to do so when it comes to your chocolates. Something I forgot to mention earlier, early on when the Mayans and Aztecs were doing things with their chocolate, they added things like cinnamon and nutmeg and chili powder. And so a lot of places, Mexican chocolate, and I couldn't find it today at my grocery store, but they actually sell some of these dark chocolates with chili powder or chili in them. You'll get that flavor you would have had if it had been back. And there are places that they're still doing the old world style. I watched a video where this lady was taking the actual beans and she was laying them out on a rock and using anything like a rolling pin and swishing them to make the nibs. And so she was just going straight from there, and then she was adding her chilies and her cinnamon and nutmeg, mixing that together until it was a powder, and then using that to make a hot chocolate drink. So there are places that are still doing thousands of years old types of processing of chocolate, and that, of course, again, would be more of a natural chocolate.
I noticed also that we're always thinking of chocolate as only like in a dessert form primarily, but I noticed that there are entrees that have chocolate,
Yes.
like a grilled chicken with a chocolate chili sauce with that dark chocolate. So it doesn't always have to be dessert.
Right,
We don't
and
think
they can
dessert.
just take those chocolate nibs and could put them in a, say, a spice grinder or one of those little coffee grinders, and you can take other things and put in there, like the dried chilies and things like that. And you can make a rub for steak or chicken or anything you want, and can have that actual cocoa nib in there as well. It adds a little different flavor and texture to your product. Make a nice brownie, in fact, too, as that would cook. So yes, there's lots of ways that chocolate can be added into different products. And so today, we have several different kinds that we're going to look at. We have our Nestle's Toll House chips, and that's the chocolate we use to make our candy we have over here. Would you tell us how we got our Toll House chips?
How we have them in the semi-sweet and the premium white.
Where did they come from?
Well, I noticed we were talking earlier about the chocolate chip and people wondering like how the chocolate chip cookie came about. Well, that was accidentally discovered by Miss Wakefield, who was cooking for the Toll House Inn. There's the name Toll House again. And she was trying to make butter drop cookies and included the chocolate chips, but they didn't melt and blend in. They stayed intact. And that's how the chocolate chip was born, just by actually cooking her.
She found that they stayed, and that was what was nice about them. Now, I have, because I'm a chocolate connoisseur, I've enjoyed chocolate my whole life. And I've noticed a real difference since I've been cooking since I was a teenager, which is about 150 years. So I have cooked about every chocolate on the market. And I have found that when it comes to making chocolate chip cookies, that the Toll House chip is the best for the overall quality of the cookie, because its melting factor is different. So let's say I use another chocolate, use the Toll House, they look the same when they come out of the oven. But once they cool down, many of the other chocolates will have a blooming effect. They'll get that little powdery finish on them, and those will not. They don't bloom as easily. Bloom is just basically, let's say you have a chocolate, you keep it in your cupboard's too warm, and it's been sitting there a while. You open up this chocolate, and there's this white film on it. That's called bloom. It's safe to eat normally. But what it is while that chocolate was sitting there, it got too hot, and some of the fat solids of the fat in the cocoa came to the surface, and it just becomes whitish. Sometimes the sugar can do that and be a sugar bloom, and they get kind of a crystally. It went from smooth to being crystally. And so it can affect the texture, but normally they're safe to eat after that happens. So looking at our different chocolates, starting over here on the right, we have a dark chocolate that says 90% cocoa. And that one will have the highest antioxidant, 90 to 100% cocoa. And we have a 72% cocoa. Anytime it's over 65%, it's considered a high antioxidant chocolate. So anything over 65% is going to be a better quality for your heart. This one is a 72%, but it has almonds and cranberries. And so what's being done there is they're adding a little more texture, but nuts are again healthy for the heart. Cranberries again are healthy from your bladder to your heart to whatever. And so if you're going to eat candy, why not have it help your body? So there again. And it says 72, but it's going to be sweeter than this one because it's going to have the fruit and nuts in there. Now this one says 100% cacao. So 100%, just like this is. But it's been made into a bar, and they've used some flour flavoring and some honey to make it have a sweeter taste, but it's still, the chocolate content in it is 100% cacao. And then when we move to this, we get into a Cadbury, which this is a milk chocolate. This is a totally different creature.
Tilt them out so I can see.
Oh,
them.
okay.
Yeah.
It'd be
If
easier
you want to
to-
see the 90%, let me tilt it up so you can see it. And then this is Lindt, this is Ghirardelli. This is endangered species chocolate. Whenever you see these types of labels, the companies that produce this, they do this fair market trade process to where they're making sure that the people that do the actual work are getting a higher, better wage. So you can look that out on your labels. I don't know if it says that on here or not. This has Midwestern raw honey, wildflower nectar, and this harmonizes with the cacao experience. Okay? And there are several other brands on the market that are the free trade situation. This is a Cadbury milk chocolate. Cadbury is completely different in its texture. There's something about chocolate that we use in the world of nutrition and cooking. It's called mouthfeel. How does that chocolate feel in your mouth when you're eating it? How does it melt? And what kind of overall experience do you have with that chocolate? And that mouthfeel has a lot to do with it. Some people, if they don't have milk chocolate, they don't feel like they've had chocolate because they're used to that kind of texture and mouthfeel that they get. I find that I eat less chocolate and I'm more satisfied on the higher cocoa content. If I have dark chocolate and milk chocolate, if I eat a little bit of dark chocolate, I'm satisfied. If I start on milk chocolate, I seem to want more and more. It doesn't seem to give me that chocolate satisfaction. But again, that's all uniquely individual to different taste.
But those are more chocolate rich. I mean, the power of the chocolate, you can really
Yes.
taste a lot stronger than
Yes.
the milk. So a little dab would do you then with that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easier to eat just a smaller quantity when you do the darker chocolate. Gotcha.
Well, and then when you think about that, well, say now, you said it was healthy for me, and we know chocolate has calories, so how do I know how much chocolate to eat before I've had too much or before I'm worrying about it causing me to have excess calories? If you look at these chocolates, they all come with this little like foil wrapping around them.
Wait a minute, that's about the size of the holiday chocolate you get. Isn't that just one serving?
If this is one serving, everybody's happy. However, this is way more than one serving. So when they make the chocolate, remember we talked about that they roasted and they ground and they mixed and they took out the cocoa butter and then they mixed back just the amount they wanted and they conjured it, made it nice and smooth, and they tempered it where they heat the chocolate and cool it, and heat it and cool it until it gets that wonderful mouthfeel. Plus, if you listen to this, you probably, hopefully you can hear it. It snaps. That's a tempered chocolate when it snaps. All chocolate that's tempered should do this. This is the healthy nutrition. So if you had this much for your chocolate serving, that would be enough to give you the antioxidant benefit the chocolate brings. Now, I can't tell anybody they can't have more. But really, if you look at it as a serving size, it would be those 2 pieces.
But you said that was more satisfying. Often that satisfied your chocolate craving quicker or more readily than a milk chocolate.
For me, it does.
For you, it does.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to try it. I haven't done the 90%,
We're
so
going to
I'm
take
going
you
to be
through a
excited
tasting.
to check
Yes,
it
we're
out.
going to take you and Gail through a tasting. We're going to start off with, I'm going to go ahead because I don't want so many pieces that you get gaggy by the time we get to the end of it. So I'm going to cut these apart.
Do you want to taste?
And we're going to give Anna some too. She's our photographer, we'll give her some as well. Okay, both of you take a couple of these pieces of your chocolate. And this is the 90%.
90%, okay. Excuse me?
Okay, so here's what you do in a tasting of chocolate. Like they do
Okay.
wine tastings, when you do chocolate tasting, you start with your darkest. And what you do is you put it in your mouth and don't chew it. Just lay it on your tongue, close your mouth, close your eyes, think about it, smell it, taste it.
Never been to a chocolate tasting.
You're at a chocolate
I'm ready.
tasting.
Are we doing
Here
it?
we go. We're doing
Close
it.
our eyes.
And I'm so sorry for those that are on the internet because when I do these in person, they're way more fun for the audience because they get to taste too. So you're putting it on your tongue, you're closing your eyes, you're not chewing, you're not hurrying up and eating it. It's kind of an in-the-moment thing, a mindfulness thing, where you're enjoying the smoothness on your tongue. How long does that taste stay on your tongue? What is that mouthfeel? Is it creamy? Is it pleasant? Does it make you think, chocolate? Does it give you that benefit or that satisfaction of having eaten chocolate? Is it smooth?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So the way they fix this, they have conched it and they have tempered it till the little particles are so tiny they're very smooth on your tongue, even though it's dark chocolate.
Very smooth.
Okay? And so when they do these professional candies, and I happen to like Lindt and Ghirardelli a lot.
I noticed though it seems to be melting at a slower rate than what I'm accustomed to when I do milk chocolate.
Yes. The amount of time it stays in your mouth, the melting rate will be different with dark chocolate than milk chocolate. Because your milk chocolate, they have added milk solids, they've added more fats, they've added back in more cocoa butter, and flavorings, seasonings, things like that. So again, let's see if they tempered it. Yep, it snaps beautifully. Snap. It's tempered chocolate. Now, here's some more pieces of, see, this was the 90, this is the 72. So both of you try the 72 now.
Well, no, I'm good.
So this is like an 18% difference.
Yes.
18% less chocolate.
So the
Can you put that for me
90,
again?
90% was on the bitter side.
It's going to be
Yes.
more bitter.
Yes.
Because chocolate by itself, without any added sugar, is very, very bitter.
It was bitter and smooth. Had a
Yes.
great feel.
But was the
Great
bitterness
mouthfeel.
pleasant or unpleasant?
Depends if you like bitter or you
You like bitter chocolate, yeah.
Right.
I have known people that take a bite of that and crunch up their face and say, what the heck are you talking about? That's disgusting. And I love it, you know, it's just your taste buds.
Well, I think chocolate, I mean, I think coffee is terribly bitter. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't think a bitter is
It is gonna be what you like.
right. But I can definitely tell that this one is significantly sweeter tasting than the 90.
So this one is sweeter.
Definitely.
It's a dark chocolate and it still fits the category of a healthy chocolate choice because it's over 65% cacao. So it's still a dark chocolate. Can you see the difference in the color?
Yeah.
And there's a little
Good
texture
white
difference,
wine.
there's a taste difference, the mouthfeel is different. Okay, so when you do the tasting, you can see there is a difference. Now, this is 72%, it's the same amount of cacao, but they added nuts and fruit. Now, every additive they put in a chocolate product is going to change the mouthfeel, the melting point, things like that. Now, let's again see if we're, oh, it's tempered nice and crunchy.
I have to admit, hopefully later on, in a few months or next year, we can do this in person.
Yes, we hope.
Because this is really enjoyable, but, you know, I understand the poor folks watching us online.
I know, this is the one that's
This is
so
like
much
torture.
fun in person, but we thought we're not going to stop teaching just because we can't be in person.
Well, and I think it's interesting that she started with the higher cocoa content because I feel it's going to be the most bitter. So then as we move down the scale, I can really, my taste buds could pick up on the sweetness of this. Whereas if you'd went the other way,
You never noticed hardly until
I don't think I would appreciate it. But now that we're at this, yeah, much better.
So what compares on the chocolate tasting is like wine tasting. When you go to a winery, they will start you with the driest wines and work you toward the sweeter wines because your taste buds will really notice the components of a dry wine, plus or minus whether you like it or you don't, and what you think about it as you go toward the sweeter wines, and then you'll find out which one you like. How are we doing? Aroma? Mouthfeel? Texture?
Score.
Okay,
I
now,
like the added texture.
you like the texture of the nuts and the cranberries. Does it make it sweeter?
That's close.
It's very similar
I can
because
taste the sugar in it, but it's very close to the 72%.
okay, is it still 70% cocoa? Now we're going to do one that says it's 100% cacao or chocolate. What happened is the word was cacao and the Spanish pronounced it cocoa.
We do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the 92% chocolate, maybe, Claire, maybe you meant the 72% chocolate, or did you mean the 90%?
For which?
Chocolate and the nut and fruit chocolate the same color?
No.
Yeah.
Can you tell from there on the camera? I'm going to hold them up.
It's hard to see, that's why I'm
Okay,
asking.
this is very dark. Can you tell that?
And that's the 90.
Yes, I can.
Okay, do you see that this is a little bit lighter brown than this one?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
that.
And then this one's the same amount of chocolate, and it's about the same color.
That's 72 and 70.
72 and 72.
So they're very similar in color.
Now here's the 100% cacao, which again is going to probably take you back to the more bitter range, except, oh, there it snaps. It has the flowers and honey, which would be more of a,
So we're going to see what adding a sweetness such as honey to it will do to the overall flavor, even though it's still very dark.
Can they see
I
that?
can't zoom in for some reason. Here we go. Oh my gosh, it looks so good.
Okay, this is, what did you say, 100%
this is 100%
with raw honey
and flowers.
and flowers?
So technically, we might expect it to be more bitter than the 90%.
It'll be
Except now
maybe
they've
as bitter, but with them adding, it says, tasting an exotic chocolate bar, breathe and see. So they're telling you the whole mindfulness process and smell, the snap, the taste. So this has got unsweetened chocolate.
It's a little different texture.
Mhm.
It's not quite as
Yeah,
smooth.
It's
this
not
is
as smooth.
processed with alkali, which will take some of the bitterness out. It's got raw honey and cocoa butter. It
There's a
also
honey
has,
taste in it.
got some other additives to it. But it's supposed to have the raw honey wildflower nectar, so,
Definitely not as bitter, and that's 100%. So I would have thought that it was gonna be, you know, that stronger bitterness than the 90%. But because of the alkali,
Okay.
the,
But alkali in this is gonna change the antioxidant nutrient property of the chocolate. It's still probably gonna be pretty good because it's not a milk chocolate. It's still got a lot of cocoa in it. But when you use the alkali, you're changing the antioxidant. So again, if you're eating it for nutritional properties, this wouldn't probably be the best one because you want to go with the more. And again, you can get a 65% cacao chocolate, and it's still pretty bitter, but it's moving up away from that a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that one had a little bit different texture, a little bit more grainier to
Yes,
it, not as
grainy.
smooth.
yes,
like
it was
the others.
grainier. Yeah.
It's probably not punched the same way, okay? Now, before we go to the Cadbury milk, which is probably one of the sweetest, creamiest ones, let's look at these. These are two that are really easy. The Dove. So each of you get a Dove dark.
Well, this is a tough job today. I don't know.
It's an awful big.
Oh my goodness.
And I get paid to do this?
So the red is the
Dark
dark,
chocolate is the
red.
red, so start
The
with
red, so I'm gonna work, yeah, I think it's best if you work with a dark in it and move to the
And move
sweeter,
to
so you
okay.
pick up on the sugar.
Now with this being the dark chocolate, I'm trying to see if it says what the percentage of the chocolate is. This is a semi-sweet chocolate. Okay, so this being a semi-sweet, this being a sweeter chocolate. Semi-sweet chocolate is, I've got the definitions here.
It's melting in my mouth quicker too.
Where you are. Dove is good. And we promise Anna, who is videotaping us, she's going to get all kinds of chocolate when we're done.
Ooh.
Okay, so bittersweet and semi-sweet are often interchanged, and they are at least 35% pure chocolate. So with this, you have to have at least 35% pure chocolate. Used for baking and eating, semi-sweet as well as bittersweet.
Well, if I need 65%, will 2 35% pieces not do it?
Probably
I
not.
can work the math here.
And then we'll look and see what this one is from. This one is a milk chocolate.
You can't blame me for trying to figure out a way to use chocolate to eat my way to health.
Okay, so milk chocolate, which is what the Dove milk chocolate is from. Milk chocolate is usually about 10% pure cocoa or pure chocolate. So you're 90% other things. So you can see why the antioxidant effect in this is not as great as this because you're getting 10% of this. They use vegetable oils, they use like a lecithin, it helps with the texture, and they use cocoa butter and flavorings and all kinds of things in their milk, sugar, and all of that when they mix it up to make a difference in the chocolate. People since the 1600s and up have wanted sweetened chocolate. So they liked it when you added the sugar and the milk. And they couldn't get a chocolate bar until they figured out, because at one time they used water. And then they found out if they used sweetened condensed milk, like the canned milk you get, the sweetened condensed milk that we make desserts out of, if you mix that with the cocoa powder, that will give you that creamy milk chocolate. Okay, how are we doing on our Dove?
It's creamier, melts in my mouth quicker, and I can definitely tell the sugar content's increasing.
Okay, now we're gonna go for the really sweet, delicious one. I think for me, Cadbury, it's very different. Nestle's has their own proprietary recipe. Hershey's, all of them have their own. I think Cadbury has a type of a mouthfeel and a sweetness to our chocolate that's very different.
So this is like the Cadbury bunny.
Yeah, except this one has added, this is dairy milk chocolate and it has fruits and nuts. To me, this reminds me of something that they had when I was a kid called the Chunky Bar. If you ever saw Chunkies.
And what's the percentage of cacao in this one again?
Not
I'm
much.
sorry.
It's a milk chocolate, so it shouldn't be more than 10%
Oh, so, okay.
of your actual chocolate, but it will tell
So I
you.
notice you're always having to read the labels. It's
Always have to read the label.
So you can't always just go by the wording on the front, you need to really check the label.
This stuff here on the front is marketing to get you to buy it. The facts label on the back and ingredients list, that is what's in the package. And it can be very different from what's on the front for marketing. This is about 10% of the chocolate, And then, of course, it's got sugar and milk and all kinds of things and flavorings. What do you think?
All right, are we trying the
Cadbury
Now it's our turn, okay.
Again.
All right.
Now, it does have the nuts,
Yeah.
you'll have to realize that's not part of the smoothness of the milk chocolate. But what we're hoping that you'll see in that is, what's the mouthfeel? How different is the mouthfeel? She's in heaven over here. Leave her alone, she's
Oh.
having a happy dream.
Just having a little moment right here.
She's having a personal moment.
The sugar, the chocolate,
Mhm,
the
the sugar hit
crunch. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, the,
Yeah, and so that has the effect that you think chocolate, right? Because we're used to having a lot of milk chocolate in our diet. Okay, so it's completely different.
I feel the stress leaving.
Yeah, what
That's because
internet?
you've had all of this other
Yeah, what
chocolate.
internet issues?
Well, let's just keep it going here.
Okay, all
What else you
right.
got?
So, do we have our caramels melted over there?
They're looking pretty melty, yes.
Okay, well, if one of you would go ahead and spoon. These are turtles that we're doing. And these turtles are basically our pecans with our caramel, and I put the clusters there. We take a pan and might get a little bit more on
Let me
there.
get up close in that. I can move.
I
if you
can
want.
even hold this.
She's gonna hold this over by the, oh, that's plenty of caramel.
Oh, yeah, this is
Oh,
like
yeah.
double caramel.
So what we did was we roasted the pecans.
You really trust me with this hot caramel too, don't
We
you?
Yeah.
roasted the pecans in a pan like this, just over the stove. Just heated them up until they get toasty and crunchy. Be careful not to burn them because they burn very quickly.
Yeah, I was thinking
They will
too.
burn so
I'll
fast.
get another spoon to break it off
Okay.
as I get it up.
Yeah.
Here. Oh, she got one?
She's got a knife.
Oh,
She jumped right
a
in.
clean utensil is all we need.
Thank you.
All right, so we roasted the nuts.
Yeah, there you go. So
First
those
thing
were
we did.
pan roasted? Those weren't oven roasted? Oops.
No, they could be oven roasted, but I do them in a skillet and just stand there and watch them. And I know, Sonia can tell you that I walked away for a minute and I thought, oh, my pecans. So I ran back over there and stayed with them so they wouldn't burn.
And this caramel, you really need to work fast because as it cools, it starts to solidify.
We decided not to make caramel on camera today, and I'm glad because I didn't need the stress of the right temperatures on caramel along with the internet.
But I
So
think we've got.
So we used
caramel on
packaged
everything.
caramels that we opened up and we melted over double boil.
That's good.
You good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to use the microwave and we're going to melt this chocolate. And this is semi-sweet chocolate. And I put just a little tiny dollop, about a teaspoon of Crisco, because I wanted it to work fast. What I normally would do is put 2/3 of the package in and heat it until it starts to melt. Not too far, but just starting to melt, and stir until all the chocolate is melted. Then add about 1/3 more of the package in and stir it, and that tempers it. But we're going to go ahead and use the little bit of Crisco in there to temper it. And we'll start with like 30-second intervals, and then when it starts to soften, then we'll stir and make sure. Okay, so taste bud wise, what's your favorite?
You know, I was just thinking about that because by the time we got down to the Dove, well, actually the Cadbury, it was almost too sweet.
Okay.
And that's because, of course, we started with the 90%. I like the 72%
This would be
range.
my, yes. 'cause
Yes.
It's a little, the edge is off of it.
Yes.
This is like very bitter to me. The edge is off of it. But I also love texture. So I like the nuts or the cranberries too. So if I could do a 72% nut and cranberry.
There you go.
And this one was interesting, but the texture threw me a little bit. It was just
The
a little
honey.
bit off, yeah.
The one with the raw honey and flowers.
It tasted kind of grainy.
Yes.
The graininess.
I guess that it's possibly not been conched the same way, so when you conch it again, you're getting that constant. What happened was Lent was trying to figure out how to get that chunk of dry chocolate to get the right texture to make a chocolate bar that people would buy. And as he was going through doing that, he started this conching process and he still wasn't getting it right. So he took off for the weekend. This is the story. He took off for the weekend to go hunting. He forgot to turn the machine on. And when he came back Monday, that chocolate was as creamy as you could possibly make because it had stirred and stirred and stirred. So he found out that that process is what makes it nice. And are we getting there?
We're getting there, not quite there
Okay, 30
yet.
more seconds. You have to be careful melting chocolate.
Slow and steady.
If you melt it too fast, it'll do a thing called seizing up. and it's not good. It's where you start to stir the chocolate and it goes into a clump. And turns into a hard lump. In that case, you've got some nasty chocolate. You can add some butter to it and try to heat it some more and break it open and make it soft and creamy again. You probably have to start with your chocolate. Now you could eat it later as a chunk, but it's not going to be smooth and creamy. And we want this to be smooth and
So
creamy.
you can't overcook it then?
Oh yeah, you can overcook chocolate very easily. And so if you want to do this at home, and anytime you wanted to do like a covering and you want it crunchy, stir up your chocolate, get it nice and she's starting to get there, it's getting nice and gooey, and
Just
get it
one
to
more
the point
time.
where it's almost all melted. Then put some more chocolate chips in and do that
What do
again.
you think, 30 more seconds?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go more than that. We're
No,
almost
no more than
there.
30 seconds, maybe stop it at 20. Because we want this chocolate to pour, and as you can see on our other ones, we poured it and it's already setting up. So we clustered like 3 roasted pecans, and of course we used a wax paper or parchment paper, and we sprayed it with the non-stick spray so it wouldn't stick, and then put the pecans in clusters, put the caramel on it, and now we're going to put the chocolate over it. And usually that it takes a while to set up. You can even refrigerate it to set up. You can put them in individual bags and freeze them.
Okay, now when I pulled it out, I could still see some of the chocolate chips
Keep
formed,
stirring, yeah.
but I stirred, and so I think we're done, yeah.
She's stirring like crazy.
Yeah.
Can you see on here how shiny that's getting? When you get a chocolate that's nice and tempered, it'll be smooth and creamy looking and very shiny.
So we stopped at 20 seconds, and I can still see the chips, but once I beat them up, yes, it is.
Yeah, so that stirring is giving it such a shine. And so that's a tempered chocolate.
All right, we ready to draw?
We're ready to draw.
Or on anything that's not got chocolate there. See how shiny that is? If you don't get it to that tempered stage, your chocolate will dry all kind of grainy looking. More like this one that was grainy.
I think I need a little more practice. I don't know if I'm just like on a chocolate high right now, so I'm just like
She's
jumping
buzzing
on.
already.
I seriously am, yes.
Well, we're gonna have a couple turtles here for the caramel lovers, for sure.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to drive after that, yeah.
I drove under the influence of chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you write me a note for that? Seriously.
Now, if we have any left after you do those, we'll dip a strawberry.
And you are so trusting of me, Gail. You're just like right
I'm
here
just-
as I'm
yes,
slinging
and
this
then I'm
hot
gonna-
chocolate.
yeah, just sling that.
Well, it shouldn't be hot enough to hurt.
No, and then I'll show our
Studio
participants,
audience.
the studio audience,
So.
are.
Okay, do you have enough you can
Beautiful.
pull it down, kind of pull it down into one
There
corner?
you go, there's our lovely quality control turtles.
Turtle cannons aren't real pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a pool of chocolate here, which if it starts to harden, you can always heat it up again for a few more seconds. Sonia brought these beautiful strawberries.
Already rinsed and patted dry. Oh my gosh, look at that.
And here's your chocolate covered strawberry.
Thank you, Claire, for thinking our turtles look good. I mean, come on, pecans, caramel, and chocolate. It
And
can't
we
go
can
wrong.
also, we can melt these white chocolates and dip our strawberries in white chocolate as
Yeah.
well. And that looks really pretty. Sometimes you can mix cover them in white chocolate, let it harden, and do a dark chocolate, and then dip them in the dark chocolate, and you have double chocolate strawberries.
Sonia, those are beautiful. You know, if you've been looking online, because you're thinking of maybe gifting some chocolate dipped strawberries, I mean, look how easy this is and how expensive they are.
Oh my goodness, yes.
When
You
they're
don't have to
online.
call a company and have them delivered.
Oh, yeah. I think we.
Like I said,
You've got this.
they're really pretty with the white chocolate, and then you take the strawberries completely dipped in white, and then you dip it in chocolate, where you can still see the white under the dark chocolate.
Yes, and as a mother and a wife, there's no reason to wait till Valentine's Day or Mother's Day.
Oh,
I will
no,
enjoy
no,
these anytime.
anytime.
Anyone wants to make me these for any occasion.
Anytime is chocolate time.
Happy Friday.
And so I will show you these. These are the difference between the white coating and again, they've made the chocolate chips. This has more of a natural component than this coating or bark. It has actually more chocolate content, it's more natural. And it will,
Those look beautiful.
they're really good in a cookie or a baked product as well. Okay, I believe I covered all of my things I wanted to cover. Do we have questions?
Oh, it says we're frozen on the computer screen.
Uh-oh.
Can you still hear us?
We are frozen. Let's see, we're gonna try and unfreeze.
You're frozen?
No, well, Claire said we're frozen currently.
Uh-oh. We lost connection on your phone.
What
It's
about-
connecting again, so.
Can you still hear us out there?
Oh,
It says connecting.
I got booted.
Oh no. That's why we got that running. So we're offline.
Well, if we come back up, we can thank everybody for attending. If not, we're done.
I think we are still off. Let me see if I can.
You can do an exit
I'm getting
thing for this.
Well, we are, for our taped version of this program, we are going to do a closing because we got booted off of the live internet. And so if all three of us could come in here and say our goodbyes. We love doing things like this in Extension. We like having the opportunity to take basic things that people enjoy on a regular basis and talk about the health and nutritional value of the foods, and maybe look at these foods in a little different way than we ever have before. Because you may or may not have ever done a chocolate tasting. So as for the Harrison County Extension here in this office, I want to thank you all for watching this video and attending our class, and I'll turn it over to Gail.
And I hope we get to do this in person someday so that everybody can experience it. First of all, this was fun, and chocolate should be fun. And it was quite enjoyable.
I'm
This
very happy, yes.
This
It's the best holiday
She's
ever.
over there doing her best.
yes, tough day in the office.
Yes.
Sonia's doing her thing over there.
I think next time I'm gonna have to try some though as an entree. I gotta try the chocolate on an entree like the chicken we talked about. I'd like to do
Tell us
that.
how it works, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you all for joining us and for
Thank
making
you.
Purdue part of your health and wellness.
Thank you all again very much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.